Hey, Dan here. I wanted to make a quick video outlining some of the crossword construction platforms I've used this last year as I've got into actually making puzzles. So in this video, I'm going to cover 3 different software packages. Fill, which is a free online app you can go to and play with today. CrissCross, which is a package that I wrote. And Crossfire, which is a commercially available package for purchase. So let's get to it. Fill I started with Fill a year ago, and Fill is great in that you don't need to download anything. It's free. You can just go to the website and immediately put in a black square pattern and some words and start playing. So super low barrier of entry. If you're just getting started in this space, Fill's a great place to start. You'll find as you use it though that you'll run into some issues. So once you get your theme words hashed out, as you pick your surrounding fill, there's no autofill or auto checking or anything like that type of feature, so that you don't know when you pick a word if it's going to play nicely with the words around it. So because of that, it becomes kind of a guessing game, and really quickly you'll get caught in corners with words that don't have solutions. So it can take a really long time. My first grid, I think it took me like 20 hours to hash out a fill using Fill. Great education experience, would not recommend it for a serious constructor. But nonetheless, it's free, it's online. You can go to this website and play with it right now. That brings me to my second platform I wanted to cover, which is CrissCross. CrissCross is my own code that I wrote to try to bridge the gap that Fill had with this lack of autofill feature. So I incorporated an autofill feature with this that allows me to select a subsection of the grid and find entries that fit all of the constraints that I pick. So in this case, I've highlighted this bottom right corner. I can go through and I can specify options about minimum word score, optimal word score, how many suboptimal words I allow for a particular section of the grid. One of the features that I like to use is I like to prime words, so I can actually say that for this particular entry, I'm only interested in grids that have this high point values, because I like that particular entry to stand out. So in this case, we'll try that with this one, and let's do that with this one as well. So now I've applied some extra fuzzy constraints, so to speak, on these 2 entries. Now when I generate my search, those words will be given to the solver and I can kick it off. So now in the background, all the processors on my computers are buzzing away, hashing out grids and looking for solutions that obey all the constraints that I've given it. One of the nice things about CrissCross is that it's complete. So if a solution exists that obeys all of my constraints, it will be found. So you're guaranteed that you're looking at the entire space for whatever constraints you provide. That being said, it can take a while depending on how many constraints you provide it. And if you don't provide enough constraints, it can spin for one time I let it go and it found like 40 million solutions. The solution file was like 10 gigs. So there's this game to play between the number of how big your space is and the number of constraints that you provide. So in this case, this one finished in 35 seconds, and let's look at the solutions it found. So it looks like it found dog-eared on a lead, lasagna, I like lasagna, VCR tape, St. Pete, beads, and now I have to choose. Let's pick St. Pete. Eke out, act as, peel, UV ray. I like that one. Hero 2, BLT maybe? Orb? Yeah. I like that. Let's play with that one. So now I plug that in. And now I can just keep moving on to the next section of the grid. So we'll highlight this section and I'll, again, shoot it off. So this one completed in under a second, and now I can go through entry by entry, and I can actually select multiple words that I'm okay with. So let's say, for example, look at this particular entry. let's say I'm okay with, you know, depending on how it works with other parts of the grid, I'm okay with all of these particular entries. Get me, got me, like those all look pretty good. And then it just trimmed out all of the grids that don't have these entries in it. So we can do that with this one too. R8, sorry, R8 of age. Okay, high def. That's a fun word. Let's see what's at high def. Tenet, IRS. Got to be some good clues about the IRS I can give. Edge, ROI. That's a decent solution. Let's go with that. So of age, I think we had here, and high def. Yeah, so that was a solution. So yeah, and then you can continue moving on to another section of the grid and play this game. One of the downsides with CrissCross is that when you, so for example, here I picked UV ray. When you pick a solution that crosses into a section of the grid that you haven't yet solved for, you know, you're not guaranteed that there's going to be a solution there, or that the solutions that are there are going to be nice. So there's some iterations that some iterating that you have to do, going back and forth between sections. But that being said, I just like the feel of CrissCross. I like that I can look at a whole swath of the grid and not have to go entry by entry like I did with fill, and that I can trim out and kind of optimize my fill depending on my personal preferences. So the final platform that I've used is Crossfire, which is another. So I really like Crossfire. Crossfire bridges the gaps that Fill has, in that it has auto solving in it and auto checking in. So when you pick a particular entry, you can be assured that there's at least one solution out there that will work with the rest of your grid. That being said, you are still going entry by entry, and that was something I tried to move away with in my design. So here, for example, when I pick Acme's, it has implications for this side of the grid that I might not see until, you know, later down, and I'm stuck searching through forests of trees and forests of solutions. So if I get stuck, I can go backwards, and to their credit, they've done a great job highlighting where I've already searched, so I'm not rehashing the same area, but I'm still going entry by entry. One of the things that I like to use Crossfire for, that my program that does not give me, is Crossfire allows me to really get a sense of when a particular black space pattern is going to constrain my fill too much. So I actually use it to find optimal black space grid patterns. So for example, here, Crossfire immediately highlights and shows me that SPF is, with this particular lineup with my theme entries, that I'm going to be constrained to SPF. And maybe I'm okay with that. That just might mean that I start right here to make sure that there's some kind of solution here that I like before accepting this grid pattern. So that's where I'm at as a constructor right now. I'll actually start on Crossfire, and I will look for a good black square pattern that gives me a lot of flexibility in terms of my fill, and then I will move over to my own personal program and hash out a fill. So Crossfire is great for a more someone who's more serious into constructing, and I would definitely recommend it. I think it was definitely worth it. But so that's all I have today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, ping me. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later.